How are you today? My name is Jean Paglio and I am going to be showing you how to do this cute little bookmark. What you're going to need is a 2-inch by 7-inch strip of 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. It's easier to use watercolor paper than it is to use any other kind of paper. So you're going to need a black micron pen. It's a .01. It's waterproof and archival, so it doesn't fade. I have a water brush that I'm going to use, but you could also use a regular paintbrush if you wanted to. You'd probably want to use a size 2 or 3 round. The water brush has a well. You put the water in the bottom, you put it all back together. I'll show you that right now. That's how you load the water. Put it together, and then you just squeeze the little well, and you get a nice little puddle of water to wet the filaments of the acrylic filaments in the brush. It's a really nifty thing if you're traveling. I like to take mine and my markers when I go traveling or I go walking around and looking for something. So I carry this like 3 or 4 pieces with me when I go, and a little book. You're going to need number 515 blue Tombow marker or any color water marker that you like, water-based. You will use 195 green and 703 pink. Those are the numbers I chose, the colors I chose, because they blend very, very well together. I think that you will like them and you'll have a nice soft background. If you chose other colors, that's fine. It's entirely up to you. I find that Tombow markers are very multifunctional, so that's why I stuck with them. You're going to color a swatch on your palette of each color, and don't worry if it dries, because it will reconstitute when you touch the water to it. The brush is a nice brush. You don't have to have a cup of water because you have that little well. What happens is when you want to clean the brush, you take your paper towel or your rag and you squeeze a little bit of water down through it and swish the brush back and forth so that you are able to clean the color out. It's really kind of a nifty little tool. I have a bunch of them that I use in different sizes, and they're really nice. I like them. However, if you always use paintbrushes, that's fine too. A laminated palette comes in handy, and when you want to build your background, you're going to start at one end or in one section, and you're going to build out, and you will use a light touch of color to the paper because it's easier to add than subtract. So here I am loading the brush, and I'm going to start in the corner, which is generally where I start anyway, but depending on the design. I'm going to wipe out the color. There you go. And I put a little dot of water there, and I see that it's not really, the brush isn't really clean, so I had to wipe it again. And then I just picked up a little of that messy water and went over the pink a little bit and turned it into a nice little lavender, because pink and blue make lavender. And then I'm just going to continue on adding my color as I go. You want to repeat this process with all the colors, cleaning your brush in between, and then overlapping them a little bit. You can see how I'm doing that. And it will give you some really beautiful pigments. At the end, you're going to be very happy with it, I'm sure. There's no wrong way to do this. There's just your way to do it. So if you think yours is going to come out like mine, it is not. It might look similar, but do it your way. Your way is more comfortable for you. You're going to continue applying color to your paper until the entire front is covered. And then you're going to let the bookmark dry. If you need more color on your palette, wipe it off first and add your color. If you only need one color, just wipe that section and then apply, because the markers do not like a moist palette. You don't get the same amount of color from the marker. So that's one little tip for you right there. Just continue on, adding your color as you go. And as you can see, green and pink make a little bit of gray. It looks a little grungy, but you know what? It might be a little stormy in the background. Look at it that way. There's no wrong way to do it. So just do what makes you happy. And perfection is not the key here. Enjoyment is the key. Relaxation, fun, the ability to laugh at yourself. You have an oops moment. It's not a mistake. It's an opportunity. So I went back in with a little bit of clean water. And now I'm going to set this aside and let it dry. If you have a hairdryer handy, you can speed up the drying process, but usually the paper will dry quick. So this is our design. It's a very simple design to do. We will do one step at a time, complete, instead of doing one flower at a time or one leaf at a time. To create the whole scale, we're going to do, first we'll do the vine, then we're going to do the stems, then we'll do the center of the flowers, then we will do the leaves, and then we will finish it up with the petals. So as you go along, try not to jump ahead, because with Zentangle, the whole point of doing a Zentangle project or any kind of project is to take your time, do one step at a time, one mark at a time, and help yourself relax and de-stress. This is supposed to be fun. Perfection is not even considered here, so let's not do that. We won't obsess. I never do anyway, because it is what it is. If you have an oops moment, you just make the best out of it. So start making your vine with curvy lines, and you're going to go all the way around the outer edge of your paper. Now, if you have an oops moment, which I just had one, it's not a big deal. It's an opportunity. You'll see. We'll fix it. And when you come around, you want to connect your line. Just finish it that way so that you have a nice little vine that goes all the way around. Add some stems. They can be long stems, short stems, fat, thin, whichever you want. It's your drawing, so feel that there's no hard and fast rule here. I did get a little close to the edge of my paper, which I really try not to do that, but hey, I just roll with it. That's all. Like I said, if you have an oops moment, it's an opportunity to do something else. So you continue adding all of your stems to your vine until you get all the way around the other side. And try not to crowd them like I just did. You want to have enough space for your flowers, your base circle, and your leaves, and your flower petals. So I crowded that little bit at the end, but again, I'm not going to worry about that. There are plenty of ways that you can deal with this. So our next step is going to be adding our centers. The centers are just a swirl, and I'll do that all the way around on my stems. Some will be big, some will be small, some will be very tiny. For instance, this one will be tiny because I got a little too close to the edge. Not a problem. And just keep going. This one has 3 little buds just to give it a little interest. And I'll put a few of those around in different places. Again, oh, we have an oops moment. I'll fix that, not to worry. Bookmarks are always a nifty gift, and especially if you have readers who appreciate that. My friend Judy loves paperback books or hardcover books. She has a tablet, but she really loves books. So every year I give her a book, and you know, it's wonderful to have a bookmark to go with it. Even if you just give the bookmark alone, people love it. They love the fact that you took the time to make this for them. You know, a lot of people have no idea what it takes to take the time to do it. And then there are other people who do know what it takes, and they just love the fact that you took the time to make something special just for them. So you continue going all the round, and now we have all of our buds and our centers on. Our next step, if I can figure out where I want to start, is to put a curvy line around which depicts the flower petals. It's kind of fun and whimsical. It's not carved in stone that it has to be perfect or it has to be realistic. It's just a fun kind of project. It's an easy project. I figure that anybody can do this. And as you can see, I'm breaking the border of the paper. When you go off the paper, that's what it's called. It's called breaking the border. So it just goes off and then comes around again on the other side. Kind of gives you a little interest there, creates a little interest in the painting and the drawing. I think it's a fun thing to do. These do not have to be perfect. They don't have to be exact. Just do the best you can. Don't obsess over it. Just take a deep breath and relax. And again, I'm going to not only break the border of the paper, but I'm going over the line of the vine. It's not a big deal, and it probably won't even make any difference later. And I don't look at it as if it's an oops moment. I just look at it as if it's part of the flower. So you're going to continue on until you get all of your curvy leaves, petals on, excuse me. And let's see. You won't have any petals on your buds. You're just going to have leaves on your buds, the 3 buds that you put on your paper if you put them on. I want to give you a tip about when you're creating a design. Feel free to rotate your paper, as you notice that I've been doing, because it makes it more comfortable for you. Use light pressure with the pen so the ink flows easily and your hand won't cramp. Because if you grip that pen with a white knuckle grip, so to speak, your hand will get very tired and your nerves and tendons will tense, and then your hands will cramp. So don't hold it too tightly, and also try to not press real hard on the pen when you are drawing, because the ink flows better and you have less chance of ruining the tip. The tip is a really soft tip, so try not to kill the pen before you finish your first drawing. These pens will last a very, very long time, as long as you keep the cap on when you're not using it. And as I said before, the ink is archival and it doesn't fade. And it's also permanent, so it doesn't, you can wash over it with water and it won't spread. So now we've finished that part of the flowers. We're going to go in and make our little tick marks from the center outwards. It gives the flower a more finished appearance. And if you just want to put 1 tick, you can. If you want to put 3, you can. If you want to vary them, that's fine. I just put 2 in each little petal. Just gives it a finished appearance. Tombow markers are really nice in the way that they can be used straight with color, or you can use them as watercolor. They are water-based, so it makes it easier than when I use my Tombows, because my Tombow markers are alcohol ink and they're rather unforgiving. Whereas with Tombow markers, you can blend the color if you have an oops moment, and I'm sure we will sooner or later. Work your way around the entire bookmark, doing 1 step at a time. That's what this is all about, relaxing, just going along, doing 1 repetitious step of the drawing process at a time helps us to relax and not miss any part of the design. So in the end, you probably won't have missed any of the tick marks in your flowers or adding your leaves or whatever. Then you can go back and look it all over and see if you want to add more or just enhance them a little bit. There's no wrong way to do this project. It's your way to do it. Again, we can enhance the background a little bit if we need to. However, we can also enhance the flowers with more color. So I just want to let you know that, watercolor can be pretty forgiving. It does have a mind of its own if you get carried away with water. However, I really enjoy watercolor, and I really think that you will enjoy this as well. I also paint in acrylics, oils, pastels. I do the whole gamut, but I really come back to the markers. I really love markers. I never thought I would, but I do. So now we're going to start adding our leaves. And they're kind of like parentheses, if you see this. One on each side and a curved vein in the center, okay? And you can start from the top and draw down, or you can start from the bottom and draw up. It's up to you. Whatever makes you more comfortable and whatever is the method that you use to make your leaves, that's fine. I vary the size of my leaves and the shape of them. Some of them are squat, fat, and some of them are longer and thin. I like the fact that you can add differences as you go along. It doesn't have to be the same because nature is never the same. No two leaves are the same. So you see they're smaller, larger. I try not to overcrowd. It's not always easy. On the buds, I just put, you can either put 2 little leaves underneath the buds, or as I'm doing here, I put 1 adjacent to the other. Leaves don't grow together across from each other, generally anyway. There might be a tree out there that has leaves that do that, but I have never seen it. I'm going to add a few leaves and a few more stems as I go along for my leaves off the vine. Sometimes I just put a leaf on the vine itself and I don't worry about that. Again, there's no wrong way to do it. I would love to see your work, so if you have the opportunity when you're finished, you can either post your project on Facebook, on my Facebook channel, or you can private message me. And the Facebook channel is Jean Paglio. So in your search bar, just put in Jean Paglio and it should come up for you, and you can just post it for me. If you want to send me a private message, that's fine too. A lot of people don't want everyone to see what they've done. Don't judge yourself, and don't let other people judge you either. It destroys your confidence. And I can tell you a little story. In the late 80s and the early 90s, I really wanted to do watercolor. So I said something to someone, another artist, and she said, "Oh, watercolors are difficult. They're so hard to work with. I'm sure you won't find it easy." I had already bought my watercolors. It took me 10 years to get up the courage to use my watercolors. And I found that they have a mind of their own, and that's probably what she meant. But I would never, ever say that to anyone, that you can't do it, because you can do it. All right, we have all of our leaves, all of our flowers, and now what we're going to do is we're going to come in with a little extra color using each color that we have. And we're going to accent our flowers a little bit. First, we'll do some of the petals. And you don't have to do pink on pink. You can do pink on blue. You can do the pink on green. You can do blue and pink. It's up to you. It's your painting. It's your drawing. Now, I went out of the lines a little bit. That's me. I just am not a stay in the lines kind of person, I guess. But I took that color and I blended it around the flowers. So no harm, no foul. And just be patient with me because this is my first video and I just have been working very hard to make it understandable and easy for you. If you start out with a light layer of color, you're apt to do better than if you put in a dark layer and then realize that you don't like it. You can always build. Adding color is easier than subtracting color. I'm not going to say adding is easier than subtracting because that's a math thing and that's a challenge. But I believe that if you start with a light foundation, what happens is you can always go in and add more, add more, add more until you get it to where you want it. And if you just want a few little extra accents, you can bring extra color in and just drop it onto the painting while it's wet. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Now here I'm adding some blue and some pink, and eventually I clean my brush and then come back and blend it. Blending it has turned it a little bit to the lavender side. So you can create, and of course I went outside the lines again. So there you have it. See, you're getting a good lesson on how you can, cross the line of safety, right? I would be adding a little bit more blue there. I think that flower needs to pop a little bit. If your flowers have no extra color, they just take on the color that's behind them and they look a little bit flat. If you add a little bit of color or really punch up the color that's already there, it makes the flowers pop off the paper. And your leaves as well. Now I started with a darker leaf and I really like it, but I really need to start with a light foundation and just move in and let them all settle into one color, and not necessarily the same color, but then I can go in and I can add more paint to it and make them darker down at the base or darker at the end, create shadow. The centers, I didn't use any yellow in this painting, so I'm just using the colors on my palette to make my centers. If you wanted to add a little yellow, be my guest. Just remember that yellow and blue make green. So here we have a finished product, and if you have a space in between, I kind of crowded mine, but if you have a space in between your complete vine, you can go in and write a name or a sweet message, especially if you're going to give this as a gift. People love that extra touch. I know even I have some that I've made for myself, and it just makes such a difference. When I haven't seen it in a while and then I run across it on my table or something, I'll go, oh, look, that came out pretty good. If you are judging yourself, which I ask you not to do that, when it's finished, walk away from it, set it aside, and just walk away. Come back an hour later, even a half hour later, and look at it again. And it will make such a big difference to you. You'll say, wow, that really didn't come out all that bad. So have fun, enjoy yourself. And if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel and be kind enough to leave me a message, I would really appreciate that. Leave me a comment below and be kind. This is my first time out. Thanks for watching. Bye. See you soon.